guys, it's me Maggie, and I am here with my November and December wrap-up and my January TBR. So I'm still being haunted from that time in November when my computer just decided not to work for like 2 weeks. And that meant that I didn't have my November, or might have had my November TBR, I don't exactly remember, but I know I did not have my November wrap-up. And I'm already late on my December wrap-up. I'm just trying to catch up, guys. Anyway, let's get on to the video because I have a lot of books to talk about. So the first book that I read in November was Gemina, and I actually have a full review of that, and the link will be in the description below if you want to check that out. And I love this book. I don't exactly remember, but I think I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. It was a great follow-up to the first book. It is a sci-fi book that takes place in space on ships, and I highly recommend reading it. The next book I read was A Little Something Different by Sandy Hall, and I adored this novel. I would also give this book 4 out of 5 stars. This book is told from 14 viewpoints, none of them being the main character, and it's a cute little love story between 2 people that are kind of awkward, and they both go to the same college. And it's really adorable. And it was a super quick read, so you should definitely pick this up sometime because it took me a day to read and I enjoyed it so much. And the last book that I read in November was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. And I would give this book 4 out of 5 stars. Apparently that's just the rating for the month of November. These are deceptively long books because they look like they're regular old novels, but then when you open it up, the print is super tiny and takes up a lot of the page. So actually, it's like a lot longer than you might have anticipated, which was what happened to me. And I just needed a little bit of a break, so that was when I read A Little Something Different. Because I needed a little something different. Knee slapper. I'm not that funny. And I thought this was a really awesome follow-up. This had a little bit more fantasy aspects to it, which I really enjoyed. So let me tell you a little bit more about the first book. Shoot. The Throne of Glass follows an assassin who's taken out of prison to be put into a competition to become the king's assassin. And there is a romance, of course. I mean, it's YA literature. There's rarely not a romance. And I find this series very addictive, and I can't wait to pick up the third one. Okay, now we're on to December, and let's get on with it. So the first book that I read in December is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and I really love this book. This was a recommended book from my sister Molly. Shout out to her. I have a couple videos with her, and I'll also link those in the description because you should watch it because we were really adorable together. I'm just saying. A Darker Shade of Magic is a 4-star rating for me, and this had impeccable world building. Let me tell you that. This book gave me a little bit of a Howl's Moving Castle vibe. There's a lot of magic, there's a lot of mystery and intrigue. The setting is so amazing, and the way that V.E. Schwab writes the setting of 4 different Londons and like traveling between the different Londons. This is just a really good book, and I can't wait to pick up the second book and continue this series. So after I finished A Darker Shade of Magic, I was going through my shelves, which I now have color-coded, which is really nice. And I went from the first shelf, which is red, and I went along it and I was like, okay, first book that I haven't read on this particular shelf, I will read. And that book happened to be Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier. And this book I would give a 5 out of 5 stars. I know everyone, but I really, really enjoyed this novel. This book follows a 16-year-old girl who finds out that she can time travel. And that's kind of like all you need to know, besides the fact that I highly recommend it and I loved it so much. And once I finished this book, I immediately had to start Sapphire Blue by Kirsten Gier, which I would give a 5 out of 5 stars also. This is an impeccable trilogy, guys, and I think you might know where I'm going with the next book that I read, which is Emerald Green by Kirsten Gier, which is the 3rd and final book of the Ruby Red trilogy. And I just enjoyed this trilogy so much. The way it was written, I need to organize my thoughts. So these 3 books were originally written in German because Kirsten Gier is from Germany. And because of that, I feel like a couple things are maybe lost in translation a little bit. Like, especially in this one, they kind of like use the word ironically so much in like everyday life, and a couple times I was like, that's technically not really an ironic situation, but I'm gonna let it slide. And also, interesting thing to talk about this series, the books like individually were more like episodes than movies, if that makes sense. Like, the story wasn't finished with each book. Like, you couldn't read one book and not read the next book. So, like, normally in series, like, the first book is about one story, and it has good starts and ends. And, like, there's a definite ending, and it is telling a story. I don't know, like, do you know where I'm getting at? That's the only way I can describe it. Basically, it made it impossible not to read all of them, boom, 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 right away. Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed this series. I loved it so much. And my only sad part about this is that it's over. And the last book that I read in the month of December is The Boy is Back by Meg Cabot. And I used to read Meg Cabot's books all the time in middle school. She was part of the reason why I like continuously read throughout middle school, because I just loved her books so much, and I would go like boom, 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 one after the other and just read all her books. I love her so much. And my sister recently picked this up, and she finished it within one day, and I was like, hey, I kind of want to try that book out because it's written by Meg Cabot. This is a romance that takes place in Bloomville, Indiana, between a golfer and someone that helps other elderly people move to retirement homes and stuff like that. It was like okay. I would give this like a 3 out of 5 stars. It was enjoyable, and I'm glad that I read it, but also it's a little bit, I don't know, it was a little forgettable. Interesting thing about this book is that it is written in IMs and emails. Okay, that page looked exactly the same. And emails and stuff like that. So it made the reading go by super quickly. But like I said, I enjoyed this novel, and now that I've shown it to you, I can return it to my sister, who probably wants it back right away. So now on to my January TBR. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm really bad at following my TBRs because I can't really predict that well after I finish a book what kind of mood I'm in for the next book. So I think what I'm going to start to do is just do like the first book that I'm planning on reading that month. So my January TBR is either going to be going these 2 ways. So either I'm going to continue reading Dragonfly and Amber by Diana Gabaldon. Recently I've been really into Outlander because my sisters have been watching the show. I watched the first season in the summer, but my sisters are watching the first season currently, like right now. So I'm getting a little nostalgic about Outlander because I really loved that book last year, and I want to read the book before I continue on with the show, which, I mean, the show's really good, guys. And the premise of Outlander is in the 1940s, this woman Claire goes to Scotland for a second honeymoon, and then she's magically transported back in time to 1743 in Scotland. And then she has a lot of crazy adventures. This book is a dash of fantasy, a whole lot of historical fiction, and kind of a lot of romance. So if you like those aspects in a novel, I would say go for it. So I'm either continuing on with this series, or I'm continuing on with a different series, which is the Winner's Curse trilogy. I checked out this next 2 books from the library, and I really liked the first book. I think I might need a little bit of a break in between reading the first and the second and the third book. It's not really so much as the Red Ruby trilogy where I could go boom, boom, boom. I've been saying boom, boom, boom a lot in this video. Maybe I should put like a count on there. It follows this girl that is super strategic, super intelligent. In The Winner's Curse, she is in the position of power. She's living in lands that her people have taken control of, and then she meets this guy. Not gonna tell you how she meets him. And I really want to continue the series, so I don't know if I'm gonna continue the Outlander series or if I'm gonna continue and finish off the Winner's Curse trilogy, but either way, I know I'm gonna have an awesome January. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I come out with a video every single Friday, so I'll be seeing you next Friday, I promise. So if you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe, because I come out with a video every single Friday where I am just kind of a geek about books. So if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe and go out and read a book and be nice to people. I'll see you later, guys.